to talk about here. We actually have some injury news that isn't great, obviously, regarding Puka Nacua. Right about an hour ago, it broke that HN also wasn't at practice and that HN may be dealing with an ankle injury in his own right. So we're going to look at a lot. We're going to talk about a lot, try to say some fantasy football teams going into week 2. Let's go ahead and let's start pulling up some teams over there on flockfantasy.com. Obviously, if you ever want to get a full-blown roster review from me, if you want to ever ask a start-sit question, if you ever want to ask a trade question, you can do all of that through flockfantasy.com. To be honest with you, probably the cheapest way to get a roster review for yourself, though, is if you just head over to Underdog Fantasy, make a $10 deposit if you are a new account. Plus, over there on Underdog Fantasy, they have a ridiculous amount of promos going for week 1. I ended up winning $155 just off of Pick'ems week 1, and now they're rolling those promos into week 2. So just use the freaking promos, okay? Today they have Today they have the Profit Boost tokens, which we'll use later in this live stream. They have the No Sweat special pick'em. They have the CeeDee Lamb free pick dropping Wednesday. That's more than less than half a total yard. They have more Profit Boost dropping on Thursday. They have college football discounts on Saturday. They have NFL discounts on Sunday. So we're going to make some of those later in this live stream. I really do want to dive into some of these teams, though, because we have a lot to catch up on. But yeah, if you use code FLOCK over there on Underdog Fantasy, you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, you will actually get your roster reviewed from yours truly for free over there on flockfantasy.com. All you have to do is make sure that you have an an account set up on flockfantasy.com with the same email address that you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with. And we will go ahead and we will actually just build a pick'em slip for tonight's game and use specifically the special free pick'em that we have as well. I think what we're going to look to do is go fewer than 115.5 rushing yards for Christian McCaffrey, fewer than 96.5 total yards for Breece Hall, and fewer than 235.5 passing yards for Aaron Rodgers. Now, for me to win my matchup tonight, I kind of need a low-scoring game, so maybe I'm a little bit biased there. But like I said, use the promos, use the promos, use the promos. Here is a 20% profit boost promo. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to throw $5 down, and this is going to be 5 to win 35. And yeah, we did a bunch of these last week and won 150. But let's move this over, and we are going to be looking at the Wagons team here. My friend, thank you so much for being a member of the flock. Going to be super excited to go ahead and check your team out for you. Now, right now, if we're looking at the league analyzer, says that we have the 3rd best team in this league. Obviously, that is not everything, but is definitely a lot nicer than being ranked the 3rd to last team in the league. This is a 12-team start 7 league. So that's only 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. That means wide receiver depth does not matter much. Now, we are sitting here with a pretty bad, and when I say bad, I mean a pretty bad quarterback room. I actually went ahead and I started Caleb Williams this week, my friend. I am in a world of pain because of it. Bo Nix is droppable. Okay, just going through and looking at the amount of quarterbacks that are rostered in your league. That team has Darnold picked up. That team has Baker picked up. The Burrow team only has 1 QB. The Richardson team only has 1 QB. Actually, a lot of teams are rostering 2 quarterbacks here. This Stafford team only has 1 QB as well. What is this team doing? This team's rostering Allen, Lamar, Purdy, Herbert, Cousins, Rodgers. So maybe that's why it's hard for us to find that second quarterback. We're having to roster Bo Nix, but Bo Nix isn't anything close to being a startable quarterback. I'm still probably going to be holding on to Caleb Williams in the flock league, really hoping that he does break out where we can start him later in the season. But if you could go to the waiver wire and find a better option than Nix, I definitely would. Going over to running back, love what we had from this running back room week 1. Bijan Robinson playing 90+% of snaps. Kyron Williams playing 90+% of snaps. Javonte Williams, Chase Brown, obviously, and Blake Corum. All the running back depth here didn't look that good. Blake Corum was not really involved whatsoever in this game. I had some questions of people asking, should we drop Blake Corum? Not at all. Rookie running back. That's pretty much just a handcuff to Kyron Williams anyway. So Blake Corum definitely still worth the roster spot. But Chase Brown looks like he is second fiddle to Zach Moss. Javonte Williams looks like he's in a 3-man running back by committee in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. But it doesn't matter because Bijan, Kyra, and both saw 90% opportunity shares in their respective backfields. These are guys that we're starting every single week. I think you still roster the depth running backs behind them. They're not disappointing enough to the point where you go ahead and cut them and move on. But I definitely think you have to be a little bit nervous with it. Going over to wide receiver, solid week from Waddle. I think Waddle is the same guy that you drafted him to be. Going to be a locked and loaded low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. Deebo Samuel plays tonight. Obviously, we're going to get some clarity there, but if Deebo Samuel's my wide receiver 2, I'm extremely excited about it. Zay Flowers, Brian Thomas Jr., these guys look like extremely strong depth options. Joshua Palmer, very disappointing week 1 when I thought he was set up to actually have a pretty good week 1. Ladd McConkey breaks out immediately. There's absolutely no passing volume whatsoever in Los Angeles. So looking at what we could possibly do to change the depth here at wide receiver, I'm definitely holding on to these younger players. I think you're holding on to Joshua Palmer as well. But if you get, say, I don't know, another 2 to 3 weeks where Palmer doesn't do anything, it's in a low volume passing attack here in Los Angeles, I think Palmer is the guy on this team trending towards the chopping block, obviously, besides Bo Nix. And then Trey McBride, disappointing week if you just look at the points scored, but the underlying usage was phenomenal. I am actually going to move to trade in. I'm going to move Trey McBride to my tight end 2 slot on on flogfantasy.com in my rest of season rankings. So I think you're in a really good spot with McBride. Overall, it's still a very good team. Obviously, this team is ranked 3rd with the league analyzer, and we're very close to being tied with those other squads. I mean, if you could potentially say, go through and maybe move Brian Thomas Jr., if this team down here thinks that they're going to be able to get some value for these guys, if we can move Brian Thomas Jr. like Caleb Williams and go get Lamar Jackson, obviously that'd just be an absolute no-brainer. But I'm afraid that team in your league just doesn't really know what's going on since they're rostering that many quarterbacks in the first place. But thank you again. Really do appreciate you. I really hope I was able to help you out here, my friend. But let's go ahead and let's dive into the next team. This is coming out from Puff the Magic Dragon. It says, Hook 'em horns, brother. Finally a mother flocker. Let's go, my guy. And of course, real quick, if you don't know, if you are an annual mother flocker on flogfantasy.com and you use the code FLOCK, you'll get 30% off any subscription, any purchases on the site. And also, you'll get a free team review every single year. So make sure you take advantage of that if you are an annual mother flocker on flogfantasy.com. Saying, hell yeah, please rate the team, any trade recommendations, and the waiver wire. Okay, so looking at this squad, let me back out of this and go right back in it for you, my friend. This is a team that we are currently ranked number 1 with the league analyzer. It is a start 8 12-team format. So this is a league where you can start 4 wide receivers from a week-to-week perspective. So quarterback, tight end, going to be a little bit less important here, and wide receiver depth going to be a little more important than it otherwise would be. But dear God, we are rostering a ton of RBs. Going over to quarterback, we have Dak Prescott. In my mind, I think Dak is kind of in the range of a QB that I would rather roster 2 guys. I like Dak Prescott, but I want 2 guys. I want to be able to play the matchups. When he has a tough matchup going up against, say, like the Cleveland Browns defense, I want to be able to go ahead and I want to be able to pivot to our other option. I mean, even if that is somebody like, say, Tua, Purdy, these guys are rostered. It does look like the majority of your league mates are rostering 2 quarterbacks. But if you could find a quarterback that you like off the waiver wire, I wouldn't mind at all kind of picking them up. You have plenty of space down here on the bench where we could go through and make a play. Now, going over to running back, I'm going to pull this up for us on the live stream because I want to figure this out for everybody here. Devon Achane reportedly dealing with an ankle injury. This is a no bueno situation for a running back that the size is what was concerning in the first place. Looking at people on Twitter, people are maybe speculating that this is a high ankle sprain. I'm not seeing anything that's official. The issue is you have Achane playing on Thursday. So if Achane's playing on Thursday, it does put you in a really tough spot. Going over to Taylor. Taylor has literally 100% of the touches in Indianapolis for this backfield. The issue, obviously, is A-Rich doesn't check the ball down. The issue is A-Rich is going to vulture rushing touchdowns. So that's going to hold Jonathan Taylor back from being an elite RB1, but still a running back one nonetheless. We have Brooks and Nick Chubb for the long-term upside. Looks like Pollard will be startable in games where the Tennessee Titans are able to lead. We have Julian McLaughlin, take Bigsby, Jordan Mason. So these very interesting running backs that are an injury away from making a difference. So I'm assuming the reason we're able to roster so many of these guys, of course, is it looks like we'll probably have multiple IR slots that we have Nick Chubb and Jonathan Brooks on. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have Chase, Rice, Pittman. So looking at Chase and Rice, I still am projecting out Jamar Chase to be a mid-wide receiver one rest of season. Obviously, very disappointing with what just happened with the Cincinnati Bengals, but I think it's more so just off-season drama lingering into week one. I would expect this to get sorted out and the Bengals to still be a very good offense going forward. Rashee Rice looks like he's Michael Thomas on the Chiefs, right? He looks like he's 2019 Michael Thomas, just absolutely dominating with the slots. The issue is with Pittman, Anthony Richardson completed 9 pass attempts. And you're going to have Josh Downs coming back into this offense. But Jamison Williams breaks out. You have some depth pieces here with Curtis Samuel, Darnell Mooney as well. This does look like a very strong wide receiver room, to be honest with you. If this was a league where you only started 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, there I would say let's go ahead and let's see if we can sell Jamison Williams and a 2-for-1 deal with Dak Prescott and go get a starting quarterback upgrade. However, because it's that league where you can start 4 wide receivers from week to week perspective, and we have Jonathan Brooks, Nick Chubb on the IR, and we're possibly dealing with the Devon Achane injury, I think that holding on to the depth on this roster, specifically in this format, is probably what we want to be doing right now. And then going over to tight end, similar to what we saw with the last team, you have McBride. Looking at the underlying usage for Trey McBride week 1, looks like he is set up to crush this year. I have him at tight end 2 in my rest of season ranks, only behind Sam Laporta. So I think you have an extremely strong tight end room that you are going to be able to just roll with rest of season. But thank you so much again for being a member of the flock, supporting the channel. I really hope that I was able to help you out with this, my friend. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now let's move this over. Appa says, I signed up with Flock and using the same email on Underdog Fantasy. How do I get my team reviewed? So as long as you signed up to Underdog Fantasy and made a $10 deposit September 5th or after with code FLOCK and made that email address, an account with the same email address on flockfantasy.com, which can be a free account, we're going to go over and I'm going to upload the CSV of all those email addresses that Underdog Fantasy gives me. I'm going to upload it over on flockfantasy.com and credit everybody with the free team review. Now, the issue is right now we're still working on switching flockfantasy.com from the old version to the 2.0 version. I'm told it's going to be done tonight. So as soon as that's done, we're going to get started on building out that CSV software where I'm able to go ahead and upload it. The developers are telling me that's either going to happen tonight or tomorrow. I promise you, as soon as I'm able to upload those CSVs and grant y'all all with those free team reviews, I'll let you know in the live stream just immediately. Just make sure after you... just make sure you have your account set up on flockfantasy.com with the same email address. That way, when we go to credit you, we find your account, because I don't want to get a DM from you 2 weeks later saying, hey, Mason, I just set up my account and we tried crediting you a while ago. And of course, if you have not done so already, if you wanted to sign up over on Underdog Fantasy, like I said, I actually ended up winning $150 on Pick'ems week 1. Not because I'm a genius with Pick'ems, I'm an idiot with Pick'ems, but specifically because Underdog ran out so many freaking promotions and I took advantage of all of them. And they are running out a ton of promotions yet again this week, ladies and gentlemen. You have the Profit Boost token today. You have the No Sweat Pick'em, where even if you lose, you get your money back on Tuesday. The CeeDee Lamb free pick, more than less than half total yard, drops Wednesday. 30% Profit Boost on Thursday. Friday, another random promo. Saturday, college football discounts. And Sunday, actually an NFL discount dropping. So make sure y'all take advantage of that. Also with code FLOCK, I got y'all hooked up with an additional promo with Christian McCaffrey, more than less than half total yard for tonight's game. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus plus you will get your team reviewed on one of these live streams. So make sure you take advantage of that with the link in the live chat and the description. But let's go ahead and let's pull up our next team here. It's going to be Team Kevin from KC Brew. And this is what's so funny. And I told y'all this when we looked at a bunch of teams in the live stream yesterday, but I promise you it's not like, oh, the league analyzer just puts whatever team at one. No, it's completely objective, and it just looks at the rankings on the site. And yet again, another team ranked at 1 in the league analyzer. This is a start 7. You're saying, I feel all right about my team. I am pretty confident about my receivers. I think I messed up a few things, namely tight end and running back. I think the Dak Lamb stack will eventually play out. I want to upgrade at quarterback. My league is the worst. Everyone rosters backup quarterbacks, so there's no upside on the waiver wire. I'll say in a start 7 format, my friend, quarterback is going to make up a very high percentage of your starting lineup output from week to week perspective. So I do like the idea of having that very strong quarterback, but I don't think you messed up when your team is this much stronger than everybody else's. I'll say that for sure. But this is also going to be a dynasty league where we are looking out into the future at the same time. But anyway, it's a keeper league. I apologize. Keeper league. Keeper, dynasty, tomato. Looking at quarterback, yes, we only have Dak Prescott. Specifically in a league where we're going to start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. It is going to be a tough situation if you don't have 2 quarterbacks that we can go through and play the matchups with every single week, just because Dak Prescott doesn't have the rushing upside. It's not like we can easily say with Dak Prescott, okay, you're able to start him every single week regardless of matchup. No, there are going to be some of these games where the passing volume's lowered in Dallas. So I would love to roster 2 quarterbacks. I know you're saying everybody in your league is already rostering 2 guys. I mean, freaking Michael Penix is rostered in this league. I'm assuming that's due to the keeper aspect of things. But going through it, does look like only 2 quarterbacks are rostered by most squads. That Purdy team only has 1. So there should be about 7 or 8 starting quarterbacks that are available on the waiver wire, where I wouldn't mind if you just wanted to go out there and pick up one of them and see if they pop and we could play the matchups. Now going over to running back, we have Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs, very strong game yesterday from a full PPR perspective. Gets some work at the goal line. Has everything as a receiver as well, which you do really like to see. Plays slightly more snaps than David Montgomery, and that was coming week 1 off a hamstring. So then Gibbs, very easy to still rank as a mid running back 1. Looking at Jonathan Brooks, for the long term, I think you're excited about Brooks. For the short term, obviously, the man's injured, and at the same time, he'll be coming back into one of the league's worst offenses. Zamir White, honestly, doesn't really look startable now that Alexander Madison's come out and he's established I'm going to have everything on 3rd down. I'm going to have everything in the 2-minute drill. Rico Dowdle doesn't necessarily look startable at the moment. Jordan Mason doesn't look startable. So yeah, the running back depth here is a little questionable. If this truly is a league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, and when we look at wide receiver and we have all the freaking value here, we have Lamb, we have Wilson, we have Rice, 3 guys that we're going to start every single week regardless of matchup. And then going down a little bit further, we have Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Tyler Lockett. It looks like this is why the league analyzer is putting us so high in that keeper/dynasty format, where you have so many of these guys that have that long-term value, even if they aren't going to be super productive in the short term. But if this truly is that league where you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I think I'd be very interested in taking one of these wide receiver depth pieces that had a strong performance and seeing if we can trade them and go get a running back upgrade. Like if you could potentially go ahead and sell Brian Thomas Jr. and Zamir White and go to a team that maybe doesn't really look like they're ready to contend this season and give them some of that long-term upside with Brian Thomas Jr. and get back in a running back for the short term that's going to help us this year. I think that could make a lot of sense given the fact that we'll still have Jonathan Brooks. We just need some stopgap production at running back 2 for the time being. And since it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, it's not like we're looking at ever really starting Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey anyway. Going over to tight end, we also have Hawkinson on the IR. We have Taysom Hill. Taysom can be playable at the beginning of the season. Of course, not necessarily someone that we're super excited about playing, but somebody that we can look to if need be. But overall, yeah, I think the main thing is just trying to capitalize on some of this depth value at wide receiver with your league settings where wide receiver depth doesn't matter a ton. And if you wanted to try to contend this year, going out there and making that 2-for-1 deal, try to get a running back. And then also with that open roster spot, just probably picking up another quarterback off the waiver wire. I don't think your team's strong enough in the short term for us to go ahead and trade for an improved quarterback. I think you just kind of have to roll with Dak and see if we can find someone off the waiver wire and play the matchups with them as well. But thank you again. Really do appreciate you, my friend. Really hope I was able to help you out here. Now, going over to our next question. This one's going to come out from Tyler. This is not a team review. Instead, this is actually going to be a trade question. It's a full PPR, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 flex. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the trade. The guy I'm trading with said he would take Pollard or Dobbins as the third leg. Okay, super, super interesting here. So essentially, we're able to switch J.K. Dobbins with Tony Pollard. As of right now, I have not updated my rankings on flockfantasy.com yet, but I do imagine that I'm still going to have Tony Pollard ahead of J.K. Dobbins. So I do think that if we were to sell somebody, we would want to be selling Dobbins. Mark Andrews versus Kyle Pitts. You can already see the rankings on the site are slowly getting updated. And yeah, Andrews is now behind Kyle Pitts. And I think going from Drake London to Jamar Chase is just a massive, massive upgrade here. So I honestly don't care if it's Tony Pollard or J.K. Dobbins. I would just rather have the Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts side. Let's see if this team's actually linked. Yeah, so this team's linked. If you link your team on flockfantasy.com, I'm actually able to go through. I'm actually able to see both rosters that are trading, and I'm actually able to look at your teams and possibly even out the deal. So if this is a trade that you're initially just offering him, and he's going to ask for a little bit more from you, I wouldn't even mind going through and adding in somebody like Shaheed and saying, hey, will this get it done? Here's a little bit of a sweetener. Because I think you're just absolutely crushing this trade if you are able to make it, my friend. And yeah, looking at his team, it kind of makes sense that he needs some depth at running back. He does have Jonathan Brooks on the IR. He has a bunch of rookies with Harrison, Caleb Williams, Malik Neighbors. So it does make sense that he kind of just needs some of this production and some of this depth in the short term. So I would really like that move, and I would definitely prefer us to go get the Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts side of that, my friend. Now, Dumpster Fire coming out with a team submission. Thank you for being a member of the flock, my friend. I know you've been with us for a very long time. Saying, can you let me know what you think? I'm concerned about my running backs. Trying to three-peat in this league. Let me know if you have any suggestions. So, trying to three-peat is freaking massive. I'm going to be honest with you. I have never three-peated in one of my leagues. Even in Dynasty. Dynasty may be tougher just because I'm in so many leagues. There's a small chance I have three-peated, but definitely in a redraft, 100%. I've never completed a three-peat, ever. I don't even think I've ever come close. I don't even think I've won back-to-back and then gone to the championship the third year. So completing a three-peat would be freaking nuts. Looking at the league analyzer, it's incredible how all of y'all have the number one teams in the league analyzer that end up submitting. This is that format where you start 2 wide receivers and 2 flex, or 3 wide receivers and a flex. But nonetheless, you can start 4 wide receivers from week-to-week perspective. So you are able to go ahead and you are able to build around wide receiver depth if you like. Going over to quarterback, we have Mahomes and Goff. 2 very strong quarterback options. Maybe you play the matchups between the two if Mahomes has a horrible matchup and Goff has a phenomenal one. Reality is you probably start Mahomes every single week, but you do have a quarterback too here with a decent amount of value. So I really do like that, my friend. Going over to running back, we have Achane. Achane looked like he is absolutely crushing if healthy. Now, obviously, the question is exactly how healthy is Devon Achane at the moment? Plays on Thursday, dealing with an ankle injury. We'll see if he does end up playing. If he misses time, it's going to be tough for us because this running back depth is currently built around some of these guys that are also injured, with Jonathan Brooks, Nick Chubb on the IR. We have Montgomery. Montgomery, I'm fine with him as our RB2. Having David Montgomery as an RB1 is just going to crush us. Gus Edwards, based off what happens week 1 with J.K. Dobbins taking everything on third down, J.K. Dobbins taking everything in the 2-minute drill, I don't think Edwards will be startable. So if we are looking at this running back breakdown here, I personally think it's completely fine if we can get by if Achane is healthy, and I'm not too worried about the depth. But if Achane goes down in a league where we start 8 guys, it may be very tough Because going over to wide receiver, we have the wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. I ranked him behind Tyreek Hill this year, but I know obviously a lot of other people had him wide receiver 1. Doesn't matter. Elite guy with CeeDee Lamb. We have Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Xavier Worthy as quality depth pieces. With Reed, you're dealing with the Jordan Love injury, so you're not super excited to play him in the short term. Going over to tight end, you have Sam Laporta, a tight end that we can start every single week. Sam Laporta, I invested more into than any other tight end this season, both in underdog drafts as well as in the flock draft. So I'm praying that Sam Laporta comes out, turns into a truly elite level option at the tight end position. This is going to be a team that's hard to work with just because you are dealing with so many injuries. We have the Brooks injury. We have the Chubb injury. We have the Achane potential injury. We have the Jordan Love injury impacting Jaden Reed. Xavier Worthy is still a rookie. It's a league where depth actually matters. You know what I may do with this team when we're dealing with this many injuries? I think we probably see if we can get some clarity on the Devon Achane situation. If Achane's fine, I think we don't need to do this. But I think we maybe go and sell Jared Goff for a depth running back where possible. Like if you could possibly package one of the running backs on our bench and Jared Goff, go send him to the Deshaun Watson team and get Najee Harris. I think that could definitely help us get by with our injured guys right now. The Jordan Love team doesn't have another quarterback. If you could potentially go ahead and sell a Jared Goff to the Jordan Love team, go and maybe package him with a super low-end wide receiver and get a player like Keenan Allen, I think that could make a lot of sense as well. So yeah, I think with the injuries that this team's having to deal with currently, if somebody's willing to pay for Jared Goff on a team that has Mahomes, I think that does make a lot of sense here, my friend. But let's go over to our next question. This is actually going to be a trade from Tho Vin, where we were looking at Reed DeAndre Swift versus Kenneth Walker. So looking at Reed Swift versus Kenneth Walker, I think it's very easily the Kenneth Walker side. Now that you have confirmation that he's good with his injury, Jordan Love's going to miss time, the Chicago Bears offense looks like garbage. I don't overreact too much with this being the first week that you have for Caleb Williams, but I definitely think that we are going to go ahead and take Kenneth Walker here, my friend. But let me pull up the live chat and get some free questions going for everybody real quick. And then we'll bounce back and get some more questions on flockfantasy.com. I do want to remind y'all, though, the cheapest way you can get a free roster review from yours truly is actually just making that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. If you are a new account, September 5th or beyond, and you have your email address on that account, also set up with an account on flockfantasy.com. You can set up a free account on flockfantasy.com. You will get a free team review from yours truly to break down your team in a live stream. Plus, you will actually get that Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for tonight. We'll get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. And you will actually get a ton of promos week 2. I made $150 on my Underdog pick'ems this week, not because I'm any good at them, but just because I took advantage of the promos Underdog was offering. You have the profit boost on Monday, the no sweat pick'em on Tuesday. So even if you lose, you get your money back. I actually ended up getting refunded with that last week. CeeDee Lamb, you have a free pick dropping more than less than half a total yard. Thursday, you have a 30% profit boost. Friday, you have a random promo dropping. Saturday, you have college football discounts. And Sunday, you have NFL discounts as well. So make sure you are taking advantage of that. Like I said, I am by no means good at pick'em. I made $150 literally just because I used the promos. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Our next question, this is why I like doing the questions on flockfantasy.com, is whenever I look at the questions on flockfantasy.com, I'm able to pull up your roster. I'm able to pull up your league settings. I'm able to figure out who you would drop. Like when I read this in the chat, it says, how much fab should I drop unlikely? I have Evan Ingram. There are a lot of people in this chat that play in 8-team leagues. There are a lot of people in this chat that play in 10-team, 12-team, 14-team, 16-team. There is a wildly different answer to how much fab you should drop on an individual player based off the actual league that you are in and the player that you would be sending to the waiver wire. So I'm sorry, my friend. I'm not going to be able to answer that. Sir Peanut says, Vulture touchdowns were insane. I had $1,000 profit and will make another $5,000 if Breece scores a touchdown today. Well, my friend, I am rooting for Breece to score a touchdown today. I actually did get saved with Vulture protection on Underdog last week as well. Let's see. Mike says, what are your thoughts on Derek Carr moving forward? I think the game against Carolina was not a real NFL game. And I don't think Derek Carr will be viable in fantasy football. It's not to say that Derek Carr can't be okay, but it is to say that with Derek Carr, more likely than not, he's not going to have any rushing upside. And I don't know if he's going to be able to be near top. Like, the thing is, Tua also has no rushing upside, but Tua can be viable in fantasy because Tua is going to be top 3 in the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. Do I expect Derek Carr to be top 3 in the NFL in passing yards and passing? No, not at all. Okay. Steven says, Mason, I submitted my team on flockfantasy.com. Need help with the bench. I will go ahead and I will pull that up right now for you, my friend. Sorry, just wanted to get some of the free questions in the chat going for everybody. But let's move over to the next question on flockfantasy.com. This is a question coming out from El Jefe. This is a trade question. This is Isaiah Pacheco and Chris Olave versus Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jerome Ford. Obviously, St. Brown did have a very disappointing week here. I know a lot of people are panicking. I think, honestly, why people are so worried with St. Brown is this is a wide receiver that's people relying on Sunday night to kind of win their matchups for them. You're going into Sunday night, you go, okay, I need 12 points. I have St. Brown. I'm going to be fine. And then all of a sudden, St. Brown doesn't even come close to it. So I don't mind you going and seeing if there's that emotional attachment with whoever has St. Brown. Like, I am way more concerned regarding Chris Olave than I am Amon-Ra St. Brown. If this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, to be honest with you, I think I probably just go ahead and take St. Brown here. Because in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, the depth's not going to matter a ton. Whereas if it's a little bit of a deeper league, then maybe you go Pacheco and Olave. But I mean, the thing is, the Saints scored a ton of points this week. Olave not even viable. Can y'all spam the chat? What side would you rather have here? Please spam the chat. Would you rather have Isaiah Pacheco and Chris Olave? Or would you rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jerome Ford? I would love your help with this one because, to be honest with you, I do not know how to answer it. Okay. Like I said, if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I probably go St. Brown. St. Brown, St. Brown, St. Brown, St. Brown, St. Brown, St. Brown, Pacheco and Olave. Pacheco and Olave. St. Brown, St. Brown, Pacheco and Olave. Yeah, it looks like most people are on the Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jerome Ford side as well. That's what I'm going to do. Like I said, I don't think you panic when it comes to St. Brown. And then here, I think we're going to go with Kenneth Walker as well. Now, going over to our next team that we're going to be looking at. This team is from the unknowns. So, the unknowns currently, this is PD Heat, changed their team name. So it's going to be, I'm going to have to reach out. Oh, no, here it is. Teammate. I'm sorry, my friend. To be honest with you, typically we've seen these teams ranked at the top of the league analyzer. Sadly, we are down here at 8 in the league analyzer. So it does look like it's going to be an uphill battle for us. This is a 10-team start 7 format. So since this is a 10-team start 7 league, really the bench depth is going to be super easy to come by. And any chance we get, we want to be making 2-for-1 deals and trying to improve inside the starting lineup. I would really like having an elite quarterback. I would really like having an elite tight end in this league in particular. But going into it, quarterback, we have Jalen Hurts. Looking at Hurts, a quarterback that we can start every single week regardless of matchup. Obviously, if Saquon Barkley comes away with a ton of the red zone touches in Philly, then maybe it's a little bit of a tougher situation in general. But you have Saquon Barkley to pair with him. So honestly, we're kind of chilling here at quarterback. We have someone we're going to start every single week. Don't need a backup. Love to see it. Going over to our running back room, we have Barkley. Barkley, in my mind, jumps Jonathan Taylor, he was already ahead of Devon Achane, jumps Jahmyr Gibbs in my rest of season rankings. Now, looking beyond this, we have Etienne, James Cook, 2 running backs that look playable, really comfortable spot. And then we have a bench with a bunch of depth that doesn't really make a difference. We have Javonte, Najee Harris, Trey Benson, Jordan Mason. These running backs that maybe in a different format where if you started, it was like 12 teams, you start 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. Then maybe at that point you wanted to go ahead and you want to build around a depth piece like Javonte, build around a depth piece like Najee Harris. But specifically in this 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, there's just no interest in the depth pieces in my mind. I would just love to take somebody like Javonte Williams. I would love to take somebody like Najee Harris, package him in a 2-for-1 deal and see if we can go get an upgrade elsewhere. Now, honestly, based on what happened week 1, I don't think you're going to be able to sell Javonte Williams. I think most people watched the Denver Broncos offense completely implode. I think most people watched the fact that Javonte Williams was kind of in a 3-man running back by committee. So I think you're maybe stuck with Javonte on your team. However, Najee, on the other hand, is someone that we could potentially package. Okay, never mind. Steven says, Mason, it's a 3 wide receiver triple flex format. Steven, is this your team here? Please let me know ASAP. Half point per carry league. Okay, never mind. Completely ignore everything we said previously. I completely forgot about Steven's format. Steven's format is an extremely unique one. Thank you for letting me know in the live chat, my friend. Ignore everything I just said. That would be applicable if it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. This is a half point per carry league. This is a half point per carry league. So if your running back goes out and has 16 carries for 60 rushing yards, which would typically be an abysmal game, instead, you're going to be coming away with 14 fantasy points, regardless of if he did anything as a receiver, regardless of if he scored a touchdown. Yeah, 0.5 point per carry is freaking nuts. It makes Jalen Hurts elite. It makes us want to build around running back, which we've already did. So the running back depth here actually matters a ton. Going over to tight ends, tight end, we even have Taysom Hill, tight end that's actually going to run the ball himself, which is really funny and pick up point per carries. Going over to wide receiver, we can start Waddle, Rice, Kirk every week. We have some upside with Ladd McConkey. You know I'm not the biggest Deontay Johnson fan, but honestly, I really like this team. Looking at what we have down there on the bench with guys like Shakir, Jalen Polk, Adonai Mitchell, and Josh Downs. And I would also say the league analyzer, I'm very sorry, is not going to work with your very specific format where it's a half point per carry. You have weird bone. I'm very sorry. Ignore the league standings with the league analyzer as well. It's not taking into account that's a half point per carry league. I think you're already kind of doing what I would want. If there are any running backs off waivers, I would definitely go pick up Alexander Mattison if you can. Specifically with these league settings, I'd way rather have like Alexander Mattison than Adonai Mitchell. So if you wanted to drop Mitchell, pick up Alexander Mattison. I'm assuming J.K. Dobbins obviously is already rostered here. If Tank Bigsby's not rostered, I may even rather have Tank Bigsby instead of Josh Downs or Jalen Polk in a half point per carry format as well. Like I legitimately think you should just roster more running backs than wide receivers here, because running backs inside your starting lineup are going to dominate wide receivers from a production perspective, and they're going to be way more appealing plays for the flex. So I really like the team. I just go for the hot waiver wire pickups at running back this week. I drop some of these bottom end receivers. But yeah, I'm sorry for the confusion early on. And yeah, also, hopefully with the league analyzer very soon, the developers are working like 20 hours a day right now trying to just get a bunch of improvements out for y'all. Hopefully we are able to account for point per carry with the league analyzer. Just right now, there are so few teams that play in point per carry leagues that it's not something that we went through and optimized for. CMC is out. No way. Oh my gosh. I'm going to win in the flock league. I'm going to win in the flock league. Let's go. Ooh. Well. Just when you thought I was out for tonight, just when you thought I was defeated, we get the notification. The chat lets me know. Chat, spam it, celebrate. Christian McCaffrey is out. Oh. Thomas thought he was doing something this week. He thought he was taking down the champ. All right. I'm on the right side of history. I told you I was winning this league. Told you that we were manifesting it. Feels good to be king. Feels good to be king. I got to run to the waiver wire to block Thomas from getting any chief pickup. Okay. Let's freaking go. Yes. Believers rise. All right. You thought I was going to go 0-1. I'm going 1-0. I asked y'all in the video yesterday what was happening. Y'all told me I was losing this league this week. I need to go pick up a running back real quick before Thomas can. Okay. Who could possibly be a play at running back tonight? I may even pick up Kyle Juszczyk to just block him from Juszczyk. I'm going to pick up Kyle Juszczyk and drop Justin Fields. Jordan Mason already rostered. I'm dropping Justin Fields regardless. So this is just to block Thomas. I am excited, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, let's go. I know Jordan Mason's the starter. Jordan Mason, Sal Vetri already picked up Jordan Mason like 10 days ago. So Thomas has to go to the waiver wire. He has to find just anybody that's going to play at running back tonight. Kyle Juszczyk is someone. I was going to drop Justin Fields anyway. So I'm literally just blocking Thomas from being able to pick up anybody. You know what I can do? Can I just drop Juszczyk and pick up another player and block him entirely from all these guys? Let's see if Sleeper lets you do this. Is Juszczyk gonna be blocked now, or do they? Who do y'all think I should? Who do you think I should block him with? If you had McCaffrey good to go tonight, would you pick up Isaac Guerrero, Kyle Juszczyk, or Isaiah Davis? Ooh. Let's go. This is exciting. Ryan says, CMC inactive, rip my 9-leg parlay. So obviously we had the McCaffrey special pick'em more than less than half a total yard on Underdog. Whenever this has happened in the past, Underdog has just gone through and they've accredited everybody with the free pick regardless. So if you use CMC to have half a rushing yard on Underdog, you're still going to win that. Don't worry. I'll confirm with Underdog for you. But yes, I'll confirm with Underdog for you, but I'm almost positive that this has happened a couple times before and Underdog has gone through and they refunded. Like one of the big promos that they had last year was Rodgers more than less than half a total yard. Rodgers goes down before a single play and they still counted it as a win for everybody. Okay. I am texting my Underdog guy right now. Ooh. I can't believe McCaffrey's out. I can't believe CMC's out. Obviously, Jordan Mason is the backup running back. If you have Jordan Mason, you go get Mason in your lineup right now. Whenever I was talking about blocking my matchup from doing anything, that was specifically in regards of he has McCaffrey, Salvetri is already rostering Jordan Mason. So I was just trying to block him from picking up literally anybody at RB. Okay. So sorry. I am changing the thumbnail and title of this live stream right now. But I don't know if y'all told me in the live chat. Who do you think would see more points between Isaac Griardo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, or Kyle Juszczyk? Like, if my editor needed to go out and pick somebody up, between those two, who is the pickup? Who is he going with? And who do I need to block? Right now, I have the Isaac Griardo guy on the squad, but should I pivot over to Juszczyk? Okay. Everybody tell me to block with Isaac. Okay. I'll block with Isaac. Clearly, if Jordan Mason's available, you run and get Jordan Mason right now. But if you play in a league that's anything serious, Mason's already taken. And real quick, I just noticed only like 5% of y'all have hit that like button. We have 1 out of 20 of y'all dropping a like on this live stream. So if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this stream. Drop a like. Okay. Let's move this over. All right. Now, as we look at these teams, we're going to have a little bit of a different point of view if all of a sudden CMC is out. Hopefully we get to see some CMC teams. E-Dog coming out saying that they have Puka Nacua, who's the replacement. I dropped my waiver wire video earlier today, my friend. My favorite waiver wire options, obviously, they're not going to be available in deep leagues, would be Shaheed. Did you put waivers? No. Would be Shaheed, would be Khalil Shakir if you're able to go get those options. I don't think I would pick up any of the Rams wide receivers, though. Like, I wouldn't pick up Whittington. I wouldn't pick up, I don't know. I wouldn't pick up Whittington. I wouldn't pick up DeMarcus Robinson. Now, Slush Monkey says, sorry if I'm not doing this format right, but I'm going into week 2. Question is starting running back position between Stevenson or David Montgomery. And then wide receiver, who are we going to go with? Well, we can go through and we can just fill out this starting lineup for you, my friend. So wide receiver is going to be very interesting this week and how we're going to decide to rank specifically Drake London versus Rashee Rice. Obviously, London went well ahead of Rashee Rice in drafts this year, but at the same time, I mean, Rice has a phenomenal week 1. London looks like absolute cheeks. Obviously, that was primarily due to what you have with Kirk Cousins' play. But let me pull up the matchups that we have here between these guys. So the Chiefs are going up against the Bengals, I believe. Yep, they're going up against the Bengals. And the Falcons are going to be going up against the Eagles. I probably am boring, play it safe with Rashee. The Patriots have the Seahawks. The Lions have the Bucks. So honestly, I'm going to go Stevenson over Montgomery if it's a PPR format. And then for the flex, I think we're just going to go ahead. We will take Drake London there, my friend. But let's check out this team for Weston. Like I said, if you were having an issue and you don't know how to connect your team to flockfantasy.com, you can always just submit screenshots here. Like, we're going to go ahead and check out this screenshot of this team. It's a team at quarterback. We have Jalen Hurts. Running back, we have James Conner, Kyron Williams. Wide receiver, Adams, Devonta Smith. Tight end, Brock Bowers. And the flex, CeeDee Lamb. So this is an obnoxiously good team. Phenomenal news with the running backs. Kyron sees 90% of his backfields. James Conner goes out and dominates where Benson is not even a factor. Brock Bowers has himself a day where he doesn't play a ton of snaps, but just sees all the targets in Las Vegas, leads the team in targets. Smith looks good. Lamb looks good. Adams, obviously, the declining receiver. And then on the bench, we have Amari, Ford, Mooney, Brian Thomas, Jalen Warren, Javonte, and we're rostering the Bengals DST. I'd probably go ahead and just drop the Bengals DST. I love the Jets pick up against Tennessee. The Jets could score 30 points of defense this week. So my thought process is when we look at a team like this, right, where we're just so damn strong at the top and you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, and you're going and looking at a running back like Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford clearly is a very strong play with no Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb is going to come back this season, probably by the time you begin to get to the bye weeks. But if your team's already so strong where with Jerome Ford, we are not starting him even with no Nick Chubb, what scenario would we ever start him in? Like if you have Jerome Ford on your bench when Nick Chubb is on the IR, when Nick Chubb comes back, Jerome Ford's not going into your starting lineup at that point, even if that's when we get to the bye weeks. So specifically, this is kind of the setup that I think it just does make a lot of sense to go ahead and see if we can package together Jerome Ford with an option inside the starting lineup and going and getting an upgrade elsewhere. I think one idea that we could have is possibly trying to go and package together Brock Bowers and Jerome Ford to see if we're able to instead go and get a player like Trey McBride, who not only had the underlying usage that was very promising at tight end, but also should be in a much better offense that we're going to have with the Raiders the rest of the season. I think that would be very interesting if you wanted to go and try to package together, say, Devontae Adams and Jerome Ford to go pivot up to a wide receiver that went at the end of round 1, the beginning of round 2, maybe go get somebody like Garrett Wilson, go get somebody like A.J. Brown. I think that would be another potential interesting move if you can find that team that needs a running back. I would like if our team was linked here so I could go and look at the other teams in the league. But you're elite at quarterback. I would also feel free to drop the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Go pick up another running back off the waiver wire. Obviously, we dropped our waiver wire options earlier today. But yeah, a really strong team. I'll just try to cash in on some of the value that you're going to get for Jerome Ford. Now, let's go over and let's pull up some more of the free questions in the live chat right now. Of course, thank you so much for everybody coming out with us. Really do appreciate y'all. Okay. Let's move this over. Junior Casey says, so does anybody know how the CMC parlay situation works? So if you used the underdog special pick of Christian McCaffrey, more than less than half a total yard, you should still be, at least in the past, what Underdog has done. I don't want to guarantee anything. I reached out to Underdog and just asked them what they're going to do with it. But in the past, what Underdog has done is if you took Christian McCaffrey to have more than half a total yard with the promo code FLOCK offer, they're going to count it as a win regardless. This has happened like 10 times. Every single time Underdog has just gone ahead and counted it as a win. So right now we're batting 100%. Now, obviously, I don't want to tell you for 100% certainty until I get word from them that that is what's going to happen. But I would almost be 1,000% positive that if you add like Christian McCaffrey to more than less than half a total yard, it will be counted as a win for you if you use code FLOCK. But also, I will say, if you wanted to check out any of these other pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy for tonight's game, of course, you can find that link in the description. You can find it in the comment section. If you use code FLOCK, you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, you're going to get your team reviewed for free over there on flockfantasy.com. And I actually made $150 with our Underdog pick'ems this past week just because we took advantage of the promos. They have a bunch of promos this week. Please, at the very minimum, take advantage of these. They're literally free. You have the Profit Boost token on Monday. You have the No Sweat Pick'em on Tuesday. This saved me last week, where even if you lose your Pick'em slip, you get your money back. CeeDee Lamb, free pick on Wednesday, more than less than half a total yard. Profit Boost on Thursday. Random promo on Friday. College football discounts on Saturday. And on Sunday, NFL discounts. At the very minimum, make sure you are taking advantage of the promos that they have. Because like I said, I won $150. I'm not any good at pick'ems, but it's just because I had a very clear strategy. I'm going to take advantage of every single promo they offer, and that's all I did. $150. And that was off of and I was just kept on putting $10 down on each. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's move back to the free chat, see if we can find some questions here. Bling on top says, do you think Amon-Ra could bounce back after only getting 4 points? Yes, I am not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, to be honest with you. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be just fine. I think a lot of people are maybe concerned because this was a primetime game. It was a later game where people knew how many points they needed going into that contest to end up winning their matchup. Obviously, you're kind of banking, oh, okay, yeah, St. Brown's going to give me 20 points this week. I'll be good. He comes through with only 4. So I understand it is extremely painful, and it is the worst game of his career. I'm not panicking whatsoever. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, still a very safe option. His role is still very much defined in this Lions offense. I still think that it's going to be a great offense, so I'm not worried at all. Okay. I just got word from Underdog. I just got a text. Let's see what it is. Okay, perfect. So Underdog did confirm that if you used the Christian McCaffrey special pick'em more than less than half a total yard with code FLOCK, it is being counted as a win. So even with CMC not playing, it's going to, if you took higher than half a total yard for McCaffrey with that special FLOCK promo, it's still going to be counted as a win. Don't worry about it whatsoever. It's a free pick. They're going to honor it as a free pick. So you are good to go. Motive says, did CMC really just get put on the IR? There's no way McCaffrey is actually on the IR, is he? Is this not just a one-time thing? Yeah, McCaffrey is inactive, but I don't see any IR news. Now, looking at some other news, Puka Nacua is a candidate to go on the IR, which is 100% noteworthy. Just absolutely brutal. Just absolutely brutal. Elijah says Puka is on the IR. Did Puka officially get moved to the IR? Like I said, I just read that he was an IR candidate. I know he was week to week, but I didn't see that he got officially placed on the IR. Saw Kadarius Toney signing with the Browns. Yeah, Puka to be placed on the IR will miss at least 4 games. Brutal. Brutal, 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 brutal. Oh my gosh. Alejandro says, should I play Giardo or Allen instead of Christian McCaffrey? Garindo. Sorry. How do you say Garindo? I know rookie running back coming out was an okay prospect, not super exciting. Really wasn't on the radar really until he went to San Fran. But are y'all going to go Garindo or Allen instead of McCaffrey? Obviously, if you could go if you could go Jordan Mason, you would, but Jordan Mason's already rostered in most spots. Okay. Garindo. Looks like now somebody says Rome Odunze sprained MCL. Oh my gosh, this is injury hell. This is literally hell. So what are all the injuries right now? Puka Nacua on the IR, CMC out, Rome Odunze. How much time is he going to be missing? Now, the Flock League, I'm setting up to just absolutely dominate, to be honest. Devon Achane dealing with the ankle. Please spam the chat. What other injuries do we have at the moment? Yeah, Achane with the ankle. Raheem Mostert with the chest. Jordan Love. Kenneth Walker, abdomen. David Njoku, ankle. Jake Ferguson. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, Jake Ferguson. Higgins, hamstring. Addison, ankle. This is just week 1. Josh Downs, ankle. Bo Nix, brain. I love that one. Oh, that's funny. Dear God. Matt says, I guess pivot from CMC to Mason immediately, right? 100%. Get Jordan Mason in for your CMC spot if you somehow have him. Our pets' heads are falling off. This is what happens when you don't play preseason games. Tyreek, bruised wrist from cuffs. Ben says you are an expert. I know, my friend. Thank you for clarifying. Caleb Williams. Okay. Daniel Jones, talent. Yeah. Daniel Jones, brain, mind, arm, intelligence, everything. Dear God. This is a horrible first week. How much time is Ferguson going to be missing? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. All I know is I'm freaking winning the Flock League now. And to be honest with you, I dodged every single injury. So you're going to have to bear with me. I have to make another clip for the Flock League because I just went, like, I'm the gif of, I think it's The Undertaker. I don't know. I never watched wrestling. But, like, coming out of the grave. Yeah, that's me right now winning this matchup. Just coming out. Well. Mason looks like he's starting 1-0. We have the laundry list of injuries in the NFL currently. And you know what? The In Your Girl squad looks like we dealing with nothing. Looks like we went through our training and conditioning. Looks like we've had solid coaching, solid training staff. Maybe we're tougher. Maybe we're built different. Maybe we know what's up. All I know is if you know what's up, it's not too late. Jump on the In Your Girl squad. This is the team to ride with this year. This is the team to root with this year. This is the team that's winning it this year. Okay. Yes, some would call it lucky that I've dodged every injury. Some would call it lucky, especially if you're dealing with a lot of injuries, right? But I would say that's good coaching. That's from the organization at the top, the owner, the manager, the general manager, the coach, literally everything. Going down to the players, motivating them, and making sure that we are good to go week 1. All right. But let me pull back up flockfantasy.com. Let's dive into some more questions here, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, we have a decent amount of questions to go through on the site real quick. Okay. So pulling this up, this question coming out from Haji, his team name Drake and Drive. Right now, number 9 in the analyzer. But this is a keeper league. The analyzer is pulling dynasty values. So to be honest with you, this is something we're going to have to tweak in the analyzer, that even if it's a keeper league, if it's a keeper league, you should be treating it more like a redraft league than a dynasty. Right now, we're treating it more like a dynasty. So in your keeper was Saquon. I decided to mix it up and go with double hero RB, then snagged Allen and Andrews, and then spammed receivers. Are there any moves that we're going to look to make? So this is a deeper starting lineup in general, even if it's only 10 players. So this isn't a league that I can say, oh, wide receiver depth doesn't matter. No, wide receiver depth definitely does matter in this format. But starting off with Josh Allen, obviously elite level quarterback, no hesitation here whatsoever. You're able to start Josh Allen every single week, regardless of matchup. You are going to be 100% good to go. You have the rushing upside. Not only do you have the rushing upside, but at the same time, he could potentially go out there and have 40 passing yards this year. QB1, don't roster backup. You're golden. Going over to running back, we are sitting pretty if Devon Achane is healthy. We have Saquon Barkley, who at this point looks like a top 5 back. We have Devon Achane, who, if healthy, looks like he was stepping into a prime Alvin Kamara role. We have decent depth here as well. We have Tajee Spears, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Jaleel McLaughlin. I mean, this is a full PPR format according to the league analyzer. So Kamara will be somebody that you can start every single week. Obviously, this is a league that has more flex spots, so it is nice having that running back depth. And we have the running back at the top. Even if Achane's out, we're kind of chilling because we can just go through and play Kamara in it. And going over to receiver, we have Pittman, Higgins, Reed, Deontay, Sutton, Romeo Doubs, Joshua Palmer. Michael Pittman Jr., a little concerning just regarding the passing volume that you have in Indianapolis. You had a total of 9 passes completed for Anthony Richardson this week. If you have 9 passes completed with A-Rich, you are in a world of pain, especially if Josh Downs is going to come back in relatively soon. What you need to see is you need the passing volume to go up in Indianapolis. Beyond this, Jaden Reed, you're dealing with the Jordan Love injury. T. Higgins, you're dealing with the hamstring injury. Deontay Johnson, you're dealing with the worst offense in the NFL. Cortland Sutton, you're dealing with the second worst or third worst offense in the NFL. Romeo Doubs, you're dealing with the Jordan Love injury. Joshua Palmer didn't really do much. Going over to tight end, we have Andrews. I'm assuming Higbee is there on the IR. But this is a league that has that deeper starting lineup requirements, and we're dealing with injuries, whether it's our own players with Achane, Raheem Mostert, T. Higgins, or injuries to their quarterbacks with Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs. So we definitely have a big hit to the depth of this team in particular. And so for that reason, I think it's going to be kind of difficult to make too many moves. Something I wouldn't mind, obviously we had Michael Pittman Jr. as that sell high candidate coming into the season. I wouldn't mind going through and throwing Pittman on the trade block and seeing what you could get in return and seeing if you can pivot over to another wide receiver that was going in his similar range in the draft. Like if you could potentially pivot over from Pittman and instead, I mean, dear God, in home leagues, Kupp was going behind Pittman. A 0% chance that pivot is viable anymore. But honestly, I would rather pivot from Pittman to like George Pickens and hope that Russ comes in and elevates the overall passing volume in Pittsburgh. We know Pickens is going to dominate the target share, where it does look like Pittman actually has some solid competition here in Indy. And outside of that, I think we're just really waiting on word for what we are going to have with some of these injured guys. I think we're waiting on word for what we're going to have with HN, what we're going to have with Mostert, what we're going to have with the Packers receivers. Be very tough to move on for many of these players. It looks like we have enough depth to get through for the time being. And yeah, there was that nice report coming out regarding Tajee Spears, looking like he's going to have a larger role going into the future. And I do want to reiterate as well, don't worry about the league analyzer here ranking us so low. The league analyzer is pulling the dynasty values because it's a keeper league. But if you only keep one player, it's way closer to a redraft format. And that will be something we'll adjust to the league analyzer in the future. That way you can just see it as if it's a redraft league. But I really hope I was able to help you out here, my friend. Now, going over and checking out Weston's team, we already answered this one. I guess maybe just on the site it is going back to it. But let's answer this team from the Benchwarmers. This is a new team from Weston here. It says it's a 12-team league with kind of weird scoring. It is a PPR format with premiums on carries and passing. It's a 0.06 point per passing yard. That is a big deal. That is a 50% bump from the typical 0.04, plus 0.5 point per carry. So quarterback and running backs are going to be the highest scorers. We don't have a tight end slot, only wide receiver, one tight end, and we keep one player. So I will talk about a couple different things. I'm sorry, my friend, halfway through your question, I'm doing this, but I definitely need to address. I see a bunch of questions in the live chat asking what's happening with the Christian McCaffrey special pick'em. So if you used code FLOCK on Underdog and you got the CMC special pick'em more than less than half a total yard and you made a pick'em slip with that, Underdog is honoring it as a win. So even though McCaffrey's out, you're still going to be winning that CMC higher half a total rushing yard. So of course, thank you to Underdog for doing that. And also I won $150 with Underdog pick'ems this past week, not because I'm any good at pick'ems, but because I was just able to take advantage of the promos. And yet again, they are running out a ton of promos. Monday, you're getting the profit boost tokens. Tuesday, there is a no sweat free pick'em. And you get every single one of these if you're on Underdog. So Tuesday, you're going to get your money back if you miss. Wednesday, you have the CD Lamb free pick, more than less than half a total yard. Thursday, 30% profit boost. Friday, the random promo. Saturday, discount on college football. And Sunday, discount on NFL games. So make sure you are hopping on Underdog. Take advantage of this. At the very minimum, take advantage of the promos. And also, you can see some of the pick'ems and stuff here if you'd be interested in any of these. But yeah, you can use code FLOCK. Links in the description, live chat. If you use code FLOCK, you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, you're also going to get your team reviewed from yours truly on a live stream just like this. All you have to do is have an account made on flockfantasy.com with the same email address that you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with and made that $10 deposit. But let's go ahead and let's look at this team. I want to remind everybody that's looking at this. This is a league where you are getting additional points per passing yard, and at the same time, you are getting half a point per carry. So this is a league where every single flex spot, actually we don't have flex spots, never mind. We just have 3 wide receiver slots. If we had a flex spot, you wanted to put a running back in every single one. Running back's going to make a massive difference here. Having a quarterback like Josh Allen, you can't even imagine the ceiling that Josh Allen has in this format in particular. He has a ton of rushing upside. Plus, at the same time, he could potentially lead the NFL in passing. So this is a really exciting quarterback to build around with. You're going to get so many points that will give you such an advantage over the idiots like myself who got stuck starting Caleb Williams in week 1. Now, going over to running back. Here, I want better running backs on this team. This is the main thing in this kind of format. If you are looking at Moss and Pacheco as your 2 RBs in a half point per carry league, the guys that have Saquon Barkley, I guess Joe Mixon, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, they are going to run laps around you. Now, I'm okay maybe having these 2 running backs, but what we would need to do is we would need to make sure our bench is just filled with RB. That way we are looking for upside later in the year. Right now on the bench, we have Nick Chubb, that upside later in the season. We have no IR slot, so it's going to make things tough. We have Rico Dowdle. We have Javonte Williams. So by far and away, my biggest issue with this team, and this is a very serious issue, my friend, is this is a half point per carry league where we took wide receivers at the top of our draft. We already have Jefferson. We already have Waddle. We already have Rice. We have 3 elite receivers we can start every single week. And then going down to the bench, We are rostering 4 more wide receivers when these bench wide receivers don't have anything close to the same level upside as bench running backs in a half point per carry format when we need running back at the top where we don't need receiver. So your options here of what you can be doing at this point is you could pivot over and you could look to potentially move off of some of these bench wide receivers, move off of guys like Curtis Samuel, Darnell Mooney, go pick up running backs off the waiver that have more upside in a half point per carry league. Or you could potentially try to package together, say, Justin Jefferson and Zach Moss and go get an elite running back. See if we're able to go and sell Jefferson and Moss and go get Bijan Robinson. Go get Saquon Barkley. But you just can't be this strong at wide receiver at the top and then roster that many receivers down there on the bench. Tight end, we have Sam Laporta, super strong option, tight end 1 in fantasy. But yeah, honestly, I don't think tight end matters too much in this format. But I hope I was able to help you out here, my friend. Hopefully you're able to get something from this. But let's go over to our next question. This is a start-sit question from Dylan. Leaves the wide receiver spot open for us. So we have no Puka Nacua. Also going into this next week, you have Keon Coleman, Deontay Johnson, T. Higgins, Jaden Reed, Malik Neighbors to choose from. No Jordan Love for Jaden Reed. T. Higgins possibly coming off the hamstring. Deontay Johnson, one of the worst offenses in the league. So even if Malik Neighbors is in a garbage offense, I still think you go ahead and take Malik Neighbors. And then down here for the flex spot, if T. Higgins were to play against KC, I think we're going to go ahead and take T. Higgins. If T. Higgins is out, I think we will go, unless if it's Malik Willis, we can't go Jaden Reed. But if Higgins is out, I think you probably pivot over to Keon Coleman at that point. I think I'm already on board 2 weeks in to start Keon Coleman over Deontay Johnson. Okay, so let's go over and our next question. Your mother says, Nate says, why aren't super chats on? We are doing no more super chats. Super chats are going to be off forever. We are doing paid questions through flockfantasy.com so I can see your league settings. Also, when I answer your question on flockfantasy.com, not only do you get the answer in the live stream, but it is also directly messaged to you as well. So you can even ask a question even if you're having to leave a live stream. And also, we are doing free questions in the live chat. So if you want to guarantee question to get answered, we're not doing super chats anymore. The system we built out on flockfantasy.com is 10 times better. I can see your league settings. Not only do you get the answer in the live stream, but it also gets messaged to you directly. So yeah, this is what we're doing the rest of the way. But this is a trade offer where we're looking at Kenneth Walker versus James Cook. Obviously, the frustration that you have with James Cook is surrounded by what you have with Josh Allen vulturing the rushing touchdowns. That looks like it's going to continue over, and it's going to be very frustrating. Kenneth Walker looks like an absolute beast this week. Let me pull up and see if we have any updates with the Kenneth Walker injury. Because if Kenneth Walker is 100% good to go, which Kenneth Walker after the game said, he went, I'm good, don't worry. If Walker is 100% good, I prefer Kenneth Walker over James Cook in my rest of season rankings. But let me double check this real quick. And please spam the chat. Would you rather have Kenneth Walker or James Cook rest of season? Would you rather have Kenneth Walker or James Cook rest of season? Please spam the chat. Okay, there are no updates with the Kenneth Walker injury here. So a little frustrating. Okay. And looking at the chat, Walker, Cook, Walker. Yeah, so it looks like everybody is on Kenneth Walker as well. I think you just go ahead. I think you take Kenneth Walker. It sounds like the injury is not super serious at the moment. Now, Dan Beer coming out with our next question. And Ross Kretz says, what's Underdog going to do with the CMC pick'em? So if you use code FLOCK and you got that special Christian McCaffrey pick'em more than less than half a total yard, you are still going to count it as a win. It still will be counted as a win for you. So don't worry. I already heard from Underdog. They're honoring it. So you are going to be good to go there. And Albo Baggins says, I made $1,000 from Underdog. Let's go. Well, congrats, my friend. I did not make anything close to that off Pick'ems this week. I actually did win money with Pick'ems this week. And I'm confident that we're actually going to be able to do it again because I have a very, very simple strategy. Stay on top of the promos they are offering every day and take advantage of the promos that they are offering every single day. You have the profit boost on Underdog tonight. You have the no sweat pick'em on Tuesday. So even if you lose, you get it back. On Wednesday, you are getting the CeeDee Lamb free pick, more than less than half a total yard. On Thursday, you're getting a 30% profit boost. On Friday, a random mystery promo. Saturday, you have discounted college football picks. And Sunday, you have discounted NFL picks. So make sure you take advantage specifically of the promos that they are doing. They are doing a ridiculous amount. You do have to kind of stay on top of them every single day. Of course, I'm going to remind you 1,000 times every day in the live stream to make sure you are taking advantage. And yeah, of course, if you use code FLOCK on Underdog, you are going to be getting my rest of season rankings. You are going to be getting a free team review through flockfantasy.com plus a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. So make sure you take advantage of that while you still can, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go ahead and let's pull this team up from Dan Burr. This is a dynasty league where we are currently 1-0. So this is a team that's currently 1-0, ranked 9th in the league analyzer. It's a 1 quarterback dynasty league. Start 8 full PPR. So quarterback here, not going to matter a ton since it is that 1 QB league. We do have Anthony Richardson. Richardson is a quarterback that we are able to start every single week, regardless of matchup. So that is a really nice spot to be in. So beyond that, when we have pretty much nobody here, when we have Young, Fields, Rattler, I'm okay. If we really were desperate during the bye week, we could start Young. We can't start Fields. But Richardson's what I call a cornerstone asset in Dynasty, someone we can build around in the short term, as well as someone we can build around in the long term. Now, going over to running back, we have a cornerstone asset at RB with Jahmyr Gibbs, someone we can build around in the short term and contend with and build around in the long term. And typically, to be honest with you, I don't really think too long term with running backs because they're extremely difficult to project, even from a week-to-week perspective. But trying to project out volume years into the future is almost impossible. However, with Jahmyr Gibbs, based off the draft capital, based off the talent, he's one of the very few players that we can do just that with. Kenneth Walker also crushing on a rookie deal as well. You have Marshawn Lloyd, Chase Brown, J.K. Dobbins, Khalil Herbert. So we have quality depth behind here. So I think based off quarterback and running back, we can definitely be a contending team. Going over to wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown in Dynasty in particular is somebody that I do think is classified as a contending asset. Because if you look 12 months from now, A.J. Brown will probably be worth maybe a little bit less in Dynasty than he is today. Even if he was, say, the wide receiver 3 from a points per game perspective, just based off his career arc, just based off his age, we know how Dynasty managers treat these guys. It'll probably be worth just a tiny bit less. Now, beyond that with A.J. Brown, he will dominate this season. So if we're looking to contend, obviously a very exciting piece. We have some of these cornerstone assets, players that maybe have upside for us this year, as well as you have the long-term outlook with, such as George Pickens, Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette, Adonai Mitchell. All of these are players that could actually rise in value going into next offseason. So really comfortable spot to be there. Going over to tight end, we have Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is that cornerstone asset, somebody that we can build around in the short term, somebody that we can build around for the long term as well. So I really like this team. If this was a dynasty team in a league that I play in, I honestly wouldn't like it. Because the majority of dynasty leagues that I play in, you have to start 10, 11 guys. So the depth actually matters a ton here. But since this is only a start 8 dynasty format, and you're rolling out essentially Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Walker, A.J. Brown, George Pickens, Brock Bowers, then maybe just Keon Coleman and J.K. Dobbins in the 2 flex spots, I think the lack of depth doesn't matter as much. I think you sit on your hands, and if we continue to go strong and you end up being like 3-1, 4-1, and then all of a sudden we know we want to push into contend, I wouldn't mind at that point if you sold your 2025 first to go get a running back like Saquon Barkley if that team has to pivot over to a rebuild. But definitely not wanting to do that right now. Wanting to confirm that we are a contending team and hopefully get some upside over the next few weeks with these wins. Okay. Now let's move this over to the next squad. This is Dylan says, am I screwed for this week? My opponent has Breece Hall, George Kittle. I have Deebo Samuel, Jordan Mason, and he's up 9 points. So Jordan Mason plus 9 points versus Breece Hall. Give me Jordan Mason and the 9 points. Deebo Samuel versus George Kittle. Give me Deebo Samuel. So to be honest with you, if I had to pick a side, I would pick your side, my friend. But obviously it is scary going up against those guys, especially when we don't know exactly what we're going to get from Jordan Mason. Now going over to the next team, this is Better Call Hall. I think we've already broken down this team for you, my friend. I mean, I'd be super happy to look at it again. You're saying feel deep at wide receiver. Any tips? Should I try to push for a running back? You know what? Maybe we didn't already break down this team. Maybe this is just a common team name in fantasy football. I mean, it's a funny team name. I did just finish Better Call Saul finally, like last week. But anyway, looking at the league analyzer, this is a start 7 format. So really the depth isn't going to matter a ton here. And what we would love to see is we would love to see an elite quarterback. We would love to see an elite tight end because you can only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Quarterback tight end is going to make up a pretty high percentage of our starting lineup output from a week-to-week perspective. Going over and checking this out at quarterback, we have CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams. Looking at Stroud, this will be a quarterback that we can start every single week regardless of matchup. Obviously, Caleb, extremely disappointing. Hell, I started Caleb Williams in my league this week. But nonetheless, I think that you can expect that CJ Stroud is a quarterback that we're starting every week. Caleb is high enough upside where it makes sense to hold him onto our team. He is worth the roster spot. Now, going over to running back, we are looking at Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Chase Brown, and J.K. Dobbins. So with Breece Hall, he was my running back 2. Now he may be my running back 1 based off what happens tonight. He could also fall behind Bijan Robinson based off what happens tonight because Bijan had phenomenal usage. But regardless, that anchor running back that we're able to build around, it is a full PPR format. So in a full PPR format, I'm sure you've heard me say 1,000 times, not a big Derrick Henry fan. He has declined for 3 straight seasons. And at the same time, he's not going to catch the ball. And he turns 31 in January. So I do want to reiterate, if you have Derrick Henry, I don't think you can sell him now. But if we get a much better game for the Baltimore Ravens where they're actually winning through the entire game, where you see a ton of Derrick Henry, not much Justice Hill, maybe multiple rushing touchdowns, I think at that point I would look to pivot off of Derrick Henry in a sell high package. You're just not going to get enough value right now, and he is still a viable play very easily. I mean, I like him as a running back too. I just didn't like him when he was being drafted as an RB1. Jonathan Brooks, we're waiting on the long-term upside with. J.K. Dobbins skyrocketing up. Chase Brown will be scaling back here, where it does look like it's more likely than not Zach Moss's job based off what happened yesterday. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have Devontae Adams, Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, Rome Odunze, and Curtis Samuel. So this is a league where the wide receiver depth doesn't matter too much if you only start 2 guys and a single flex. Now, I know you're saying you feel deep here, which I'd agree. I think that in theory, when all these guys are healthy, it's a very deep room for us. But T. Higgins banged up. Now Rome Odunze banged up. Curtis Samuel doesn't do anything, but he had the turf toe going into week 1. So ultimately, you may be in a spot where Curtis Samuel is able to expand his role in week 2. He is able to take more of this Buffalo offense, maybe takes it away from Matt Collins. So I think long-term here, when we begin to get these wide receivers back and when we get these wide receivers healthy, I think you could very easily, in a league where we only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, take one of these receivers, package them with the tight ends, to improve in that area where we are just sitting with Taysom Hill at this point. Or another option is once we get these wide receivers back and healthy and we have more than enough depth to go around, if at that point Derrick Henry maybe is coming off an extremely strong week and you wanted to see if you can go through and package together Derrick Henry and one of our depth receivers to go get an elite RB1, I think that could also be very interesting. I just specifically don't think you can make a move this week in particular. This is a league where depth doesn't matter much, but we're dealing with the Brooks injury, the Higgins injury, and the Rome Odunze injury. So I think it's going to be difficult for us to sell the depth that we do have because of said injuries. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the Flock Sports channel. I really hope that I was able to help you out with this question. But let's go over to Brian's question. Saying this is not how you fill out a trade question here, my friend. I'm needing to transfer for a quarterback since Love went down. So I'm primarily aiming for Tua or Daniels. The league mate that has Daniels also needs help at wide receiver and running back. This league is a 12-team league with double flex spots. So I will say real quick, if you have your team linked, what you're able to do, my friend, is you're able to literally, like, you didn't have to add all these players. I automatically, if your league's linked, with trade questions, this is why, I really prefer doing it through flockfantasy.com this year rather than the live chat. I can pull everybody that the team has. I can pull everybody that you have as well. So you don't need to go through and manually fill out like a massive trade offer to try to show me what's up. I can just see it. But anyway, so Love went down. We're aiming for Tua or Jaden Daniels. If we are looking at, I don't even know what side we're going to be looking to trade. If you're saying we're looking to trade one of these options on the My Team side, I think the move would be if you could sell Nick Chubb for Tua, let's go for it. If you could sell Keon Coleman for Daniels, let's go for it. I would prefer Daniels, but it is very difficult for me to answer this question, my friend, because I don't really know how we fill this thing out. But let me pivot over and let me answer some questions that are in the live chat real quick. Just some free general questions, and we'll get back to the questions on flockfantasy.com. Okay, let's see. Princess giving up Gibbs, getting Pat Frymuth. Ooh, spicy deal. Spicy deal. Kojin says, would you trade for Puka? If so, what would you give? Spencer says, bro, cook me with the more than less than half total rushing yard pick 'em for CMC. So real quick, just so everybody knows, Underdog just texted me. It is not going to show immediately that you win that pick 'em during the game. So I know everybody is going to spaz during the game. But just the people that are watching this live stream right now you don't have to spaz. It's not going to show you winning it during the game. After the game, Underdog is going to manually go in and they're going to credit it as a win. So don't spaz when during the game. It's not showing that you won the free pick'em CMC more than less than half total yard. It will happen. And also, it's not a void. It's, hey, Underdog's going through an Underdog saying you won it. So Underdog's honoring that. So don't worry about it at all. It is, like I said, not going to show up during the game, though. It's going to show up after. Okay. Well, let's move this over. And Underdog does have just a ridiculous amount of promos. Even another promo tonight. They have the 20% profit boost. They actually dropped 2 20% profit boost tokens. But I won $150 with Underdog Pick'ems last week. I did all the Pick'ems on the live stream for you to see. But they are doing even more promos. You have more profit boost tokens on Monday. The sweat-free pick'em on Tuesday. So even if you lose, you get your money back. Wednesday, the special pick'em more than less than half total yard. The Thursday, 30% profit boost. Friday, the random promo. Saturday, you have college football discounts. Sunday, you have NFL pick discounts. So please just make sure you are taking advantage of the promos. I'm not any good at pick'ems, And I was winning last week specifically because I stayed on top of the promos every day. I got them in and took advantage. And of course, if you wanted to do just that, you can find the link in the description and the comment section in the live chat. If you use code FLOCK, you are going to be getting a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, you'll get a free team review from yours truly on flockfantasy.com. And Jalen asking what our favorite pick'ems are for tonight's game. So it's definitely a little bit different now that you have no McCaffrey. I know as soon as the McCaffrey news dropped, Underdog actually took down the Niners projections, but it looks like they are back up. You still have vulture protection, so I actually do like Breece Hall to score a touchdown in this game, specifically using that vulture protection promo that Underdog's running. Deebo Samuel is actually up to higher, lower 20.5 rushing yards. My initial thing was, easy lower. But then you think, no, CMC, Deebo Samuel may actually get used a little bit more. Now that you have no McCaffrey as well, actually, I like for us to have Mike Williams for fewer than 2.5 receptions, specifically with the reports coming out that he may be a little bit limited in this game. And then going through and trying to look for something else here. I like Deebo Samuel to just absolutely, I don't know if that correlates though. We're probably going to go with no CMC for Brock Purdy to have fewer than 1.5 passing touchdowns. And speaking of using the promos, we're going to apply the profit boost. So after applying the profit boost, we're going to put 5 to win 36 or about 37. And also Breece Hall has the vulture protection this week. So if Breece Hall gets vultured at the goal line, it gets refunded anyway, which is really nice to know. Okay. And yeah, that vulture protection actually saved us a couple times this past week. Okay. So let's see if we have any questions in the chat. K-Tone says, do I drop Keon Coleman or Jordan Addison for Shaheed, Shakir, or Isaiah Likely? For the love of God, you do not do that. If you have Keon Coleman, Jordan Addison, you hold on to Keon Coleman, Jordan Addison. These are guys that have a lot of upside, my friend. K-Tone says, Mason, you in both chats? I don't know what chat you're talking about. Matt says, hey, Mason, just got your email about the roster review being done, but I didn't see it on the website. I clicked the link. Team review was MP straight flexing. So please, if you're in the Discord, one, if you're having an issue, you can just respond to that email. I will see it. Two, if you're in the Discord, please go to site issues and let us know. There's possibly a chance that the link that sent you to have the question answered, maybe that got messed up with the developers pushing out something for the new version of the Flock site. Regardless, I answered it in a live stream for you. I don't want you to have to scrub through the entire live stream to find where you got your answer though. So just message me. We'll figure it out. But yeah, thank you for letting me know. That's very important to know. Okay. Now, Pradeep says, Mason, should I offer a CMC trade? Manager did not score 60 points this week. If you think you can get somebody to absolutely panic and send you McCaffrey, I think that would be exciting. David says, are you excited about the UT Georgia game this season? I'm going to try my best to get tickets. Yes, I am very, very excited. I have not gone to a UT game, and obviously I live in Austin, Texas, for anybody that doesn't know. And yes, this is not my normal setup. Freaking my Wi-Fi, my internet, the fiber line got cut. AT&T can't fix it till Wednesday. So your boy's been living in Airbnbs to make sure I can get you all these live streams. But sadly, I haven't been to a UT game since I started live streaming every single day just because I simply don't have the time. But I may try to make it to a UT game this year. Okay. Sean says, should I trade DeAndre Swift for Dalton Kincaid? 100%. It's an absolute no-brainer. I'd way rather have Kincaid than Swift. I know Kincaid does absolutely nothing week one. Neither does Swift. But if you look at the underlying usage for Dalton Kincaid, actually does look really good here, my friend. Okay, let's move this over. Dan says, follow the money. Zach Moss is the starter. Pollard is the starter. That's why I have more Zach. I don't want to say for sure I have more Zach Moss and more Tony Pollard than the respective options. Let me give you the exact numbers. Because the last thing I want to do is lie to you on that one. I believe I have more Zach Moss. I believe I have more Tony Pollard than Tajay Spears and Chase Brown. Let's look up Bengals. My Bengals exposures I have 10% Moss. I have 5% Chase Brown. So I have exactly double Zach Moss than Chase Brown in Underdog. My Titans, I have 8% Spears and Pollard. So never mind. I did draft a lot more Zach Moss than I did Chase Brown, but I'm dead even on Spears, Pollard. Okay. Now let's go through Asian Artifacts. Says, sup, man? How's Cup with Pook out? This is something that I was wanting to do, and maybe I can do it with y'all right now. Let me pull up flockfantasy.com and let me update my rest of season rankings, because I can actually use your opinion in these live streams, which y'all know I'm the first person to admit. It's not like I'm anybody special. I'm just a random Joe Schmo, and I really value y'all's opinion when we go through and make these rest of season ranks. So these are our rest of season ranks. These are not our rankings specifically for this week or next week. This is rest of season. But let me figure out how I can share my screen. Let's update our rankings with y'all right now live on stream. And you can see my rest of season rankings here. I know, looks gross. Give me a second. And this is the old flockfantasy.com. This is one of the last pages that needs to get updated for us to officially move from the old version of the site and move everybody to the new version of the site. Y'all are about to get a massive, massive update with flockfantasy.com, which I'm super excited for. But these are our rest of season redraft running back rankings. I think I am dropping CMC with this calf injury down to RB3. If this is serious enough for him to miss week 1 over, I think this could very easily linger on beyond this. I am moving Saquon Barkley up to running back 4. Achane stays here at RB7. Kyron stays at RB8. Pacheco stays at RB9. I think you could flip Jacobs over Etienne based off the Tank Bigsby usage. If Kenneth Walker ends up being okay, I'm going to move Walker ahead of James Cook, Rashad White. Derrick Henry stays here. I think Joe Mixon has to fly up boards. I think Mixon probably moving to RB10. And like I said, these are our rest of season rankings. I think Mixon can continue to rise as well. Looking at this, Montgomery, Connor kind of stay in the same spots. I will flip Ramondre and Aaron Jones. I think we put Ramondre at 20. I hope Ramondre is a lot better than this rest of season. I have him in my league. Let's go ahead and Fry says, yo, CMC is missing Sunday as well, buddy. Is that confirmed? Is McCaffrey missing Sunday for sure? But going through, and this is where things get very interesting. This is like that flat tier where it's extremely difficult to rank these players. I think now that we have confirmation with Zach Moss jumps up to RB23. People are saying likely, set on ESPN. All right, McCaffrey's behind Barkley. If this injury is this serious, I think we move Christian McCaffrey behind Saquon Barkley in our rankings. I think CMC's RB4 for me. Can you spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley? Like, say you have CMC right now. Would you trade McCaffrey for Barkley? Would you trade McCaffrey for Barkley rest of season? Who would you rather have? Okay. CMC, Barkley, CMC, Barkley. CMC, Barkley, Barkley, CMC, Barkley, CMC, Barkley. So it does look like it's kind of split 50-50. I'm going to put Barkley there until we get more information regarding the injury. And let me know, do y'all like us updating our rankings and stuff on stream and showing y'all this? Because I know in the past, all we did is sit here like a zombie and answer super chat questions. I think in the live streams, this is honestly maybe a lot more useful for us to do stuff like this. And also, I need to update these on flockfantasy.com anyway for everybody who's a member of the flock. So something I need to do. I was going to do it during the game, but it's maybe better to do it now so I can get your opinion. Moving over, I think, like we said, the top 20 guys are all kind of top 22 guys, top 23 guys are all pretty safe here. I think Swift is a faller. Mostert's a faller. Zamir White's a faller. Jalen Warren's a faller. Jonathan Brooks, I don't want to move him up with how bad the Panthers offense looked, but just based off of our other options in this range, I don't necessarily know what else we could go with. I think we move Pollard up as well. I'm going to put Brooks ahead of Pollard. That's something we can go back to and revisit. Then moving on down, I think Brian Robinson jumps Javonte and Chase Brown. Zamir White falls behind here as well, because Zamir White legitimately is going to have absolutely nothing as a receiver. We saw that. He had nothing on third down, nothing in the 2-minute drill. It was all Alexander Madison. So honestly, I think Zamir White falls behind Javonte for me as well. Jerome Ford, based off just the usage, it's so hard not to just have him here at RB30. Obviously, Chubb is going to be coming back soon. We get confirmation that Chuba Hubbard's maybe a bum splitting with Sanders, but Jerome Ford's being used as a 3-down back. I think Raheem Mostert drops behind Brian Robinson. I think he drops behind Jerome Ford as well, because Mostert is dealing with his own injury. Moving this down. God dang, what are we going to do? I think Nick Chubb rises by default just because so many of these other running backs are less interesting. Like, why would I ever want Singletary over Chubb at this point? Why would I rather have Zamir White than Nick Chubb? What, like, when am I don't think you can start Zamir White. I'd rather have Eckler over Zamir White at this point. Somebody that we need to rise dramatically. One of the biggest risers of the week is going to be J.K. Dobbins. I think Dobbins jumps all the way up to maybe RB32, maybe ahead of Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown possibly drops behind Chubb here. I think Zeke's a riser as well. We get confirmation that Zeke's kind of going to be the guy. I think Zeke maybe jumps Singletary, Zamir, and horrible offenses. I'm going to move Spears ahead of Zamir and Singletary as well, because what is the upside with Zamir? I know Zamir obviously and I should have talked about him more in the videos I recorded today, but I don't see how you ever start Zamir White. Literally ever. Chuba Hubbard is nothing. I'm going to jump Charbonnet over Chuba and Blake Corum. Like, I don't know how we ever start Chuba Hubbard based off what just happened. These other guys I think can kind of stay. But let's go back and let's revisit, because this is the big range of guys where it's just so hard to know what to do with. And I kind of want to try to nail these players. I'm not going to move Jaylen Warren too much, just because with Jaylen Warren, he was coming off the hamstring week 1. So I do think at the end of the day, you potentially have him expanding his role in week 2. And then DeAndre Swift, the offense was just so bad, but Roschon Johnson was a healthy scratch. Can you spam the chat right now? Rest of season, would you rather have DeAndre Swift or Brian Robinson? DeAndre Swift or Brian Robinson? Who do you want rest of season? Honestly, I need to stop drinking out of this Gatorade bottle on live stream. We're giving Gatorade free promo. I had to buy this bottle. Are you kidding me? Somebody out there who owns a bottle company, send me a bottle. Okay. Robinson, Swift, Robinson. It does look like the vast majority of people here are wanting Brian Robinson. Yeah, like everybody's B-Rob. So if everybody's B-Rob, I kind of view them as the same options. I think maybe we jump Brian Robinson up to RB26. I'm not going to jump Jerome Ford over these guys, because I think Swift could turn into a guy that you start legitimately rest of season. Whereas Ford, by the time Chubb's back, is not going to be viable. But we will revisit these during the game, and I'll revisit them tomorrow night with y'all on the live stream as well. But that will be a running back. Let's go over to wide receiver. And oh, dear God, I don't want to do tight end. Tight end's going to be tough. Gloom says, how do I redeem my free team review? So obviously we are working right now to move over from the old flockfantasy.com site to the new flockfantasy.com site. Really hoping that's out tonight. I know I've said that every single day over the past 3 days, but we're just trying to tie up every little thing to make the transition as smooth as possible. And when that does happen, I'm going to be able to upload the CSVs of all the email addresses that signed up to Underdog Fantasy with code FLOCK. So if you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with code FLOCK and you have an account on flockfantasy.com with the same email address, at that time, you will be accredited with a free team review. I'll for sure ring the alarm. I'll sound the bells of when that is done for y'all. It's most likely going to be tomorrow. But I will let you know, and then you'll just see that you have a free team review from yours truly. And of course, if y'all wanted to get that free team review, you can by going and signing up to Underdog Fantasy, taking advantage of these special offers that they have this week. If you actually go over to Underdog Fantasy and use code FLOCK, you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000 plus a free team review from yours truly on flockfantasy.com in one of these live streams. And at the same time, Underdog is actually running a ridiculous amount of promos. I won $150 on Underdog last week just because I took advantage of the promos. Highly recommend you do as well. Profit boost on Monday, no sweat pick 'em on Tuesday. So even if you lose, you get refunded. Wednesday, CD Lamb free pick more than less than half total yard. Thursday, 30% profit boost. Friday, a random promo. Saturday, college football discounts. And Sunday, NFL discounts as well. So make sure you take advantage of that. And if you want that free team review and that deposit bonus, just use code FLOCK when you sign up. But let's move over to wide receiver. Now, this is going to be where it's tough to make these rankings. Am I moving Amon-Ra St. Brown behind any of these guys? I'm honestly not. Hate me. I don't care. I don't think I can move St. Brown behind Chase. I don't think I can move him behind Jefferson. I don't think I can move him behind A.J. Brown. Obviously, A.J. Brown, way better week this week, blah, blah, blah. I can't do it. I already had Tyreek at 1. If you had CD Lamb at 1 previous to this, I think I would put Tyreek there. But like I said, I already had Tyreek at 1. Moving down, Puka Nacua, going to be a massive, massive faller here. Puka on the IR. Let's move him down to about wide receiver 20, and we'll figure it out later. And Kupp, going to be a massive, massive riser. I think Cooper Kupp, at the minimum, is a top 10 wide receiver. I'm going to move Kupp to wide receiver 7. He may even go higher than this, but let's just get some of these baseline adjustments out right now. I think Nico Collins jumps both London and Harrison. I think Deebo Samuel could potentially jump both London and Harrison as well. I think Jalen Waddle for sure jumps Chris Olave. The Waddle could potentially jump London and Harrison. I'm more worried about London. We're going to move London down here. Ayuk jumps London. Rice jumps Olave. Evans jumps Adams. Smith jumps Adams. DJ Moore jumps Metcalf. You have the injury to Rome Odunze. Stephon Diggs jumps Metcalf. And this is just initial run. Then we're going to go through and we're really going to think about this. But right now, these are just initial gut reactions. Tank Dell jumps Flowers. Tank Dell jumps Pittman. Flowers jumps Pittman as well. Higgins jumps Pittman. Pickens over McLaurin. Worthy over McLaurin. Amari over McLaurin. Ridley over McLaurin. Ridley over Amari. Godwin over Reed. Godwin over McLaurin. Godwin over Amari. Keenan over Kirk with the Rome injury. Brian Thomas over Rome with his injury. Brian Thomas over Kirk, already outscoring him as a rookie week 1. Lad McConkey jumps Deontay Johnson, JSN. Keon Coleman jumps Deontay Johnson, JSN. Jordan Addison banged up. Hollywood probably a little bit closer to healthier, so we're going to move Hollywood up. Jameson Williams will be a massive flyer up these ranks. I think Jameson at minimum moves up to about wide receiver 37 back-to-back with Keenan Allen. Now, this is an interesting spot I want to ask y'all about. Would you rather have Keenan Allen or Jameson Williams? Keenan Allen or Jameson Williams? Please let me know in the live chat. We're seeing what people are saying. Jameson. Keenan, Jameson. I do think it's an interesting spot. I don't think it's like clear cut to go Jameson Williams because you have the Rome Odunze injury. I think Jameson Williams is still going to be this extremely volatile option from a week-to-week perspective. But, I mean, we could go ahead. I'll put Jameson over Keenan for y'all. Jaden Reed, to be honest with you, I'm going to put Jaden Reed over Terry McLaurin. Who cares that Jordan Love's banged up? He'll get Love later in the season. I can't put Jameson over McLaurin just yet. I'm not going to do it yet. Let's move this over. I'm going to move. I can't move Christian Watson over Rome. Christian Watson dealing with his own injury to Love. I'm going to move Christian Watson behind Ladd McConkey and Keon Coleman. DeAndre Hopkins is a big follower. Lockett jumps Hopkins and Palmer. Cooks jumps Hopkins and Palmer. Let's see if there are anybody else that we need to be moving up in these ranks. Down here, we're really going to have to revisit this. I think getting the top and right makes a lot of, should be our number one priority here. Going through, obviously, these Niners guys, are going to get a lot of information about them this week. But let's actually move over to tight end. Let's do a little brief stint on tight end. I definitely want to check to see if we have any more questions on flockfantasy.com we got to answer before tonight. So going to the weekend, we had Laporta 1, McBride 2, Kelsey 3. That doesn't change at all. Kincaid versus Pitts. Kincaid had the usage. I know maybe I'm being stubborn here, but I'm going to keep Kincaid. Kyle Pitts, we're going to stay at 5. Kittle, we're going to stay at 6. I think based off how bad Evan Ingram is, Andrew's going to flip Ingram for me. Bowers is going to jump Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson, and David Njoku. Isaiah Likely is going to jump Jake Ferguson and David Njoku. Dallas Goedert will jump Ferguson and Njoku. And then here, once we get to the Schultz, Fry, Muth, Taysom, this is all like a bench tight end. None of these guys are interesting. Cole Kmet has to fall behind a bunch of these guys where Kmet's no longer startable. Jonnu Smith falls behind these players. Luke Musgrave is going to be a big-time faller as well. Luke Musgrave's no longer startable. Tucker Kraft will be a big-time riser. Looks like Kraft is the guy in Green Bay. Based off the injury that you have to Love, I don't want to get too excited about any of these Packers at the moment. We'll put Kraft at 18 for rest of season. But we will update these. Head over to flockfantasy.com to answer more of your questions. The live, because obviously there's the subscription side of flockfantasy.com where you can find all my premium posts, all the posts of all your favorite creators, plus all the rankings of everybody. And then there's the a la carte side of flockfantasy.com where it's just me going through and answering your questions. So let's check on the a la carte side of things. And it's all in one domain. It's all in one place to just go through and answer more of these. We already answered that question for Brian. But Love Thy Neighbors coming out with a team review. Says, help, who should we trade for? Moves on the waiver wire, etc., etc. All right. Let's pull this up, my friend. Now, this is an extremely shallow format. One of the reasons why I like doing these questions on flockfantasy.com now is we get the actual format of your team here. This is an 8-team league where you only start 7 players. I am telling you right now, depth does not matter in the slightest. Waiver wire options are going to be phenomenal every single week. The only thing we're doing is 2-for-1 deals to improve inside the starting lineup. Now, looking at the squad, currently, quarterback, we have Daniels, Purdy, Stafford. In an 8-team league, this is unacceptable, especially where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. You need to sell one of these wide receivers with a lot of value with one of these quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels and go get a true elite level option. If you don't want to do that, that's fine, but I would still suggest you just drop Matthew Stafford and just roll with Jaden Daniels and Brock Purdy. But I don't want to be rostering 3 quarterbacks here. I'd love to get the improvement inside the starting lineup with that 2-for-1 deal, but at the minimum, drop Stafford. Going over to running back, CMC's out, but we do have Jordan Mason for the fill-in. We have fine options with Jacobs and James Cook. If you wanted to pivot over from McCaffrey to Barkley, I wouldn't fault you. I'm not as worried about our starters being out in an 8-team league, though. As we discussed, depth is going to be extremely easy to come by. And then going over to what we have at wide receiver, we have Lamb, Ayuk, Puka, Olave, Neighbors. So we have Puka with the injury, of course. Very, very sad. But even then, I think if it's a league where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, as I was saying, I think you want to be making that 2-for-1 deal, trying to improve inside the starting lineup where we can. So if you could take Chris Olave and Jaden Daniels, make a 2-for-1 deal and go get that improvement inside the starting lineup, I think that would make a ton of sense. But it looks like everybody in your league is rostering 3 to 4 starting quarterbacks. So, right now, this is actually a 2 quarterback format. Never mind So obviously don't drop Stafford. I think it makes it even more appealing to make that 2-for-1 deal to improve a quarterback though. So if we can go ahead and potentially package together one of these wide receivers with Brock Purdy or with Matthew Stafford to go get that upgrade at quarterback, that's an absolute no-brainer. Going over and looking at tight ends, we have Pitts and Bowers. If you wanted to approach a team that just had a tight end that absolutely sold for them, like you want to approach the Evan Ingram team and go, hey man, I'll give you Brock Bowers and I'll give you Brock Purdy. Give me Caleb Williams. I'm sorry, not give me Caleb Williams. Give me CJ Stroud in return. I think that could make a lot of sense for this team as well. But everything you're wanting to do with this team is those 2-for-1 deals, improve inside the starting lineup. We know that your league's going to have phenomenal options on waivers. So I think you're going to be able to just go through and backfill with quality depth pieces. Thank you again, my friend. Really do appreciate you. And David, this is a team review, so we'll be able to get to that after the game. But thank you again, everybody, for hanging out with us. Really wishing you the best of luck in your game and your matchup tonight. Of course, if you want to get a free team review from me on flockfantasy.com or go check out any of these pick'ems, you can find that over on Underdog Fantasy. If you use code FLOCK, you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus. Plus, you're going to be getting a free team review from yours truly on flockfantasy.com. Underdog's having a ridiculous amount of promos at the same time. You have less than half a total yard for CeeDee Lamb dropping on Wednesday. You have a profit boost on Wednesday. You have a sweat-free pick'em on Tuesday, profit boost on Thursday. I won $150 on Underdog last week, not because I'm any good at pick'ems, but just because I stayed on top of the promos and I made sure that I took advantage of them. So definitely make sure I do the same thing if I were you. Use code FLOCK. That way you get that team review from me on flockfantasy.com and the deposit bonus as well. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. I really hope that you have a great day. And one last thing is, if you used the Christian McCaffrey special pick'em more than less than half a total yard on Underdog, Underdog is going to be counting that as a win for you at the end of the game. Just let the game play out. Then it's going to be counted as a win. So don't stress about that. But much love. Really do appreciate you and really hope you hang out with me after the game so we can talk about what happened.